Hi guys, welcome to the last episode of DOdaily in 2021. Des here. Hope you're having a great day. Hope you're looking forward to the new year. Putting the last one behind us and really excited about what's coming in 2021. Just like to start by saying thank you for joining me on DOdaily in 2020. It's been an absolute pleasure doing what I do. I've said many times I enjoy it. I can't do it without the great support, without the input of others, without people liking, sharing and subscribing. So it's really important to keep getting that. I mentioned yesterday I'd love to get to 100 followers. So if you can help me do that, that's one of my first targets for 2021. We'll talk a little bit about targets and it's involved in some of the questions today. But I'm live, ready to answer your questions. As ever, thanks for all the input. Thanks for those who've answered the throwback question and come up with some questions themselves they'd like me to sort of rattle through. Looking forward to getting into those. But before we get into that, I just want to say what a great week for effort again. I've mentioned a few times this week how I've approached it in a relaxed way whilst we try and do different activities on different days and stick to that routine and create sort of activity around the different days and the different motivations. I've tried to also sort of encourage people to do it around their Christmas plans. It's a time of year everything's up in the air. So it's been great to see many still getting out there at different times. I got out today. I've been out for a run and a walk. Managed 10 miles in total. So really pleased to end on that kind of note. It's been a really good year in terms of walking for me. But the running's not been so good, but I'm getting there, putting in that activity, being inspired and motivated by all the guys doing what they do. It's really important for me to keep going myself, keep trying to achieve the things I want to achieve. And again, without you guys, I wouldn't be able to do that. Forming a running club 3-4 years ago has meant the world to me, and without that, I don't know what I'd have done at certain times. And even in the last sort of 7 or 8 months, whilst the obvious has been about, it's been really important in keeping me on top of things and giving me purpose and intention to do things that are worthwhile and will help people along the way. It's been a couple of weeks, of course, since I last did a Thursday Thought, since I last answered the questions. Last week, of course, it was the Christmas special. If you've not checked that out, give it a look. Just a bit of fun. Not as long as one of these questions and answers. So if you don't like those, it's something to looking at. But I asked the question last time, what was your highlight of 2020? I've said many times over the last couple of weeks, it has been a tough year, isn't it? There's no sort of hiding from that fact. There's nobody sort of saying that it hasn't been a tough year, but there's been lots of positives as well, hasn't there? And I'll start with myself on that. One of the real positives for me has been finding the walking. I mentioned it just before, but getting into walking, it's been massive for me. Whilst I couldn't run at the start of the year, I was struggling, I was injured, I was ill, just getting out there, reaping in all those benefits, seeing how much of an impact it makes, and it's great for the mind, and it's been fantastic. When things have been a little bit tough, it's one of those things that have really helped me through. It also gives me time to sort of multitask and work as well as chat to people, meet friends, all in a safe environment. But when I can, it's been absolutely fantastic. So that's definitely a real highlight for me. There's been lots of things around that. I've achieved some great things again. Whilst I've not been able to do them as I want to, I've actually still got the medal from the virtual London Marathon here. Not quite taking it upstairs yet. The rest of them are in a drawer, but I've left it hanging on the chair because I'm quite proud of the fact. I'm not ashamed of that. I'm not ashamed to admit it. It's something I've achieved in this year when I couldn't run as well as I wanted to. Doing that towards the end has been absolutely fantastic. And on a personal note, a real high, come out of a difficult situation, in all honesty, was moving house. It's been absolutely fantastic. We were it was forced upon us through a situation where an owner sold a house and they wanted to renovate it, and we was really struggling to see where we'd be next. But for once, feels like I'm really settled, really content where I am, and it feels like I finally find a place to sort of lay some roots and settle down. And that's something I've been striving for a couple of years, and it makes me feel better about all the things I'm doing. When we're happy, when we're content, when we enjoy it, that's the most important thing, isn't it? And that's they're the positives for me, really. There's lots more. Some of the guys have touched on them, some of the responses, and I'll add to that as well. But I'll read through some of those. Ben said his highlight of 2020 was the annual Do Running Benidorm trip. I think many can vouch for that. It's an absolute cracker. We do it. We've done it now for the last 2 years. It got bigger last year. I'm sure it'll get bigger next year. It's not due. It's normally in February, so we managed to do it just before the lockdown, which was absolutely fantastic to get that in. We didn't know at the time how much we needed that, but looking back, it was definitely a highlight. It's a bit of work hard, play hard. We go to do the half marathon as a running club, of course, but there's a lot of play hard involved as well. And I think there was 17 who went this year, so that's a fantastic team effort, isn't it? And most of those done the marathon, the half marathon. So it's absolutely brilliant that we can go and enjoy what we love, but then enjoy having a good time as well. Ian backed that up. Ian says that was definitely one of his favourites too. And Ben says sort of post initial lockdown, one of his highlights was recreating what would have been fun to run a 24-hour event. Whilst we didn't even do it in 24 hours, we met socially distanced and ran laps of a local park run, and sat in the sun, socially distanced, when the rules was a bit more lax than they are now, and really enjoyed that. There was a good few of us there again, making the most of the opportunity to meet up to run, to meet up to enjoy yourself and enjoy each other's company. But again, just getting the most from what we do. Simon said his highlight was passing his exams. He tends to follow it. He's been doing a lot of exams around his job. I think it's accountancy, and he's managed to pass those. And again, out of a bad situation, he believes some of that's down to the fact he had a lot more time to revise. So whilst there is a lot of negatives to come, we try to work off the positives. We work off what we can, and passing his exams is a fantastic achievement and something to take away, a real good thing to take away, because it's a lasting effect of a bad situation. Hannah said one of her highlights is getting a greyhound. We all know how much she loves the greyhound. The people in the Do Running community makes it to a lot of the pictures, a lot of the selfies. It's absolutely fantastic to see. And also the fact that she's got 2 boys and they've shown some resilience and they've always got a smile on their face despite the situation. So as long as she's got that, she's really happy. Dawn kind of backs that up with, she says spending times with Ian, her husband, and Megan, her daughter, is really important. And she's realised it's more important than anything, actually. So again, just that extra little bit of focus on family and the things we can have, is really important, isn't it? It just shows there. And a lot of us have missed that so much, but close family, of course, it makes it even more special. And Davna, she really enjoyed finishing the Do Running virtual half marathon. She's had a frustrating year, injured, and being able to walk through that, a fantastic achievement. Remembering back to the day, she actually walked a half marathon in something like 3 hours, 10 minutes, which we was all pretty staggered about. That's getting a bit of a shift done. So just imagine what she can do when she's fully fit and running again. But that's absolutely brilliant, isn't it? Some of the responses there, really inspiring stuff, really great stuff. Like I say, as a community, we do lots. I posted a picture in the closed Facebook group yesterday of an away day to London, an annual trip again. And whilst we probably won't be able to do it early in 2021, it's something I'll definitely be looking to do, because we get so much from these things. We build that great team spirit that I know we've got, and really enjoy it. So thanks for the responses there, guys. As ever, they're really important to sort of do that throwback feature, and it's always there to try and create a bit of positivity, to try and create some good feeling, to let other people know how we managed to sort of cope and deal with the difficulties that COVID and lockdown throws at us. So, speaking of COVID, I'll get into the first question, and it comes from Michael. What are the Tier 4 guidelines for outdoor exercise? Well, I spent all day yesterday reading through these, and I'm not quite sure I know exactly, but I'll give it a go. Essentially, the rule is, Michael kind of backed this question up, saying, are we still allowed to do unlimited exercise on our own? And the short answer to that is yes. And we're actually allowed to do exercise with one other person as adults. Any unorganised activity you're allowed to do. Well, I think it's organised as an adult as well. Organised or unorganised events have to be one-on-one in Tier 4. So I were looking to do a group activity session, set up this boot camp I mentioned over the last couple of days, where potentially I could work with 4 or 5 other people, to do that. What I've had to do is break that down and work one-on-one over the Tier 4 period. So we can get out there, we can do the activity. I think under 18 organised sport still goes ahead, in a supervised and COVID sort of controlled environment, and with risk assessments in place and things like that. But anyone sort of over 18, if it is coaching, it's got to be one-on-one. If it is sort of meeting a friend, again, it's got to be in public spaces, parks and such things, and it's got to be one-on-one. And you've got to stay within sort of tier boundaries and not go too far. The whole point of this kind of structure is for us not to spread the virus. So if we can stay within our own sort of vicinity, that's really important, isn't it? So the answer to Michael's question, in short, is yes, we can sort of go out and do unlimited activity. We can run on our own, Of course, check out the solidarity sessions. They'll continue into the new year, and for as long as this sort of issue is around us, it's a great way of working as a team, but also doing your activity on your own, but knowing people are out there doing it. So that's the answer to that. Question 2 was from Dawn, again, following on sort of from the COVID situation. Will you have the vaccination? Definitely. Whilst I've got 1 or 2 sort of questions around the whole thing, which I could spend an whole episode and week talking about. I'm not going to do that right now, but the short answer, I definitely have the vaccination. It's important, isn't it? We need to get the situation behind us. Whatever sort of concerns people dream up or come up with, I want to go to Benidorm again. I want to go to London. I want to lead running groups and create activity in person, because it's so important. Last week, before the new restrictions, the tighter restrictions came in, whilst Nottingham was still in Tier 3, we was able to run in groups of 6. And 5 of us went out. We were socially distanced. We acted within the rules, and I really, really understood how much I'm missing it. It made, I've run with 1 or 2 people sort of a lot of the time, when the restrictions allow that, and it's been great. It's been absolutely fantastic. But just getting into that group scenario again, running with 4 or 5 people, I looked at my watch. I was struggling a little bit with my 5Ks. I've been doing 5K most days, and I'd been struggling a little bit, but I looked at my watch, and before I even knew it, was 2.5 miles in. I turned around to one of the guys, Simon, and said, God, we've nearly finished and kind of missing this now. It just showed how important it was. So the quicker I can get that vaccination, the better. And I think everybody should be the same. We've got to, whilst everybody's got a choice on this, and I'm not going to tell anybody what to do and what not to do. That's one of the sort of rules I try to abide by. But we've got to try and stop this, because there's other people we could pass the vaccination on to. It's and that's the important thing, isn't it? Some of us, I think I might have had it in the fact I've had antibodies. I know that doesn't prove absolutely sort of 100% I've had it, but I'd like to think that if I got it in the future, I wouldn't pass it on to somebody that could get it worse and and could really suffer from it. So I think it's important that when it's available, the sooner the better. For all those reasons I've said about doing some of those highlights and doing the real events again. That's really important for me to have as soon as I possibly can. So hopefully that answers your question, Dawn. Question 3. This is from Dave. He's thinking about training for a longer distance event again, but he also had a thought on doing 5Ks for the time being to try and get a PB, try and sort of build that up again. Of course, we've all sort of eased back. I guess without the events, a lot of us have eased back a little bit, and not thought about the training so much. And quite often what happens in a race is you tend to run a lot quicker. Even at Park Run, it's not a race. It's just a run or a run, jog, walk, whatever you want to do. But we tend to sort of use it as a benchmark each week. So without that kind of structure, it's quite easy to sort of completely forget about progress and times and just not being totally motivated by that either as well. But what I'm trying to say there is those races, those activities, those events give you that kind of push to push on. So in short, if you was really trying to achieve a PB, the answer would be run more 5Ks. That's the sort of standard answer across that. But there is things you can do. Whilst you're marathon training, you might look to sort of build your endurance by doing hill sessions, by doing interval sessions, by doing longer runs. And naturally, by doing that, as soon as you sort of rein that in, you might just, what Park Run does do, it gives you a 5K opportunity every week, which is time which you're thinking about and you're geared into. Of course, we haven't got that right now, but perhaps try to replicate that, run a 5K at the same time every week. Whilst you might not achieve a PB, you might be able to push on, you might be able to sort of try and get to that point. And it's a case of monitoring it, isn't it? Over the weeks, you might be able to see that little bit of progress. And eventually, even with that extra training, you might be geared into that particular session and go and hit a 5K PB. I wouldn't say it's impossible. Absolutely not. The sort of standard coaching line on that is if you want to run a 5K PB, run more 5Ks. Whilst you're marathon training or whilst you're training for longer distances, that's not entirely always possible, but it's not beyond the realms of possibility. So thanks for that question, Dave. Really appreciate that. And the last question for today, what's a good number of targets to set yourself for the new year? I spoke about this quite a lot this week, haven't I? I spoke yesterday about New Year's resolutions and setting targets and the way I've approached it in the past. I think a real good number to work at, Ben, is for me personally, it's just something I did in the past was I set myself 3 achievable, not easy, absolutely not easy at all, but things I could achieve, realistic targets, which would sort of build me up to bigger targets in the future. And by setting the achievable ones, I actually hit the bigger targets a lot sooner. So working on a few things at once is good. If you want to get a PB or if you want to run more miles, that's absolutely fantastic. But like I say, it's got to be achievable. There's no point saying you're going to run 5,000 miles if you ran 45 miles last year. It's got to be realistic. There's always time as well to build up to these things. It's interesting that Ben asked this question because I'm actually working on something where I'm really going to challenge myself in January. I'm going to try and work on a lot of things. I'm going to set myself a lot of targets, and give them a real go. And the reason I'm doing that is because I've been working on those targets throughout the year. Bit by bit, I've been sort of eking away at them. I've mentioned before, one of them is about sleeping, and I've done abstaining from drinking, and I've tried this diet or tried to change my eating habits in this way. So I feel I've prepared myself, and this is what I'm saying about the little targets. I went 100 days without drinking, which I managed to do quite successfully. Then I had another period where I drank for a little bit, and then I decided I was going to have a month off. And again, I'm looking at kind of things like that. I'm looking to achieve a marathon PB this year. I'm looking to do improve my speed with my 5Ks again, build that back up. And it's just about that sort of slow progress. But whilst I've been working on a lot of things, like I say, I've worked on them over time, so it's that gradual build up again, isn't it? So if you're looking to set out at this time of year, I'd say 3 things are quite achievable. But again, it's whatever you determine to complete. At the end of the day, the only person that can say whether you can achieve something is yourself. Because you get out what you put in. Especially with running, in most things in life, but especially with running and walking and cycling and whatever activity you choose to do. That's what we're here to encourage. You'll have all the support you can get behind you from the Do Running community. That's why it's so amazing. So keep setting them. That's the point. However many you need to, whatever you want to achieve, if you sort of put it out there and say what you want to do, you'll get lots of support and encouragement, and hopefully we can help you smash them in 2021. And that's a nice way, really, to lead on to this week's throwback question. Of course, what else was it going to be? What are your New Year's resolutions? Please post them up as soon as you can. I'd love to know what they are, and I can read them out next week. And already, if I read them out next week, that makes you accountable, doesn't it? And that's the point a lot of the time about setting targets. It's to make yourself accountable. That sometimes you might want to set a target, not tell anyone. That's absolutely fine, because you might not want that pressure. I do that still. I still set myself a target sometimes and don't really tell anyone. But I also post a lot of my targets on my social media. It's almost like I'm documenting it. It's almost like I'm using it as a diary. And while some might see that as showing off, maybe arrogant, that's absolutely not the reason to do it. I'm using it almost as a journal, as something to sort of refer back to, something somebody might ask me about, and also with the intention of inspiring others to do what they can as well. And that's what it's all about. It's about just doing what we can, to improve it for ourselves. Everything I do through Do Daily, everything I try to the message I try to put across is to inspire others, but I know ultimately it helps me as well. Use the term in the last few days, pay it forward. If you put yourself out, if you put yourself out there to be almost to be shot at, by saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, this is how I want to approach this, that and the other, someone will always ask you a question, but someone will always come back and say something nice about it as well. And it's just about working off the positivity. I say it every day of the year. We've got to be positive. We've got to take things forward, not worry too much about the negativity, not worry too much about what people are saying, as long as we're content in the things we do, as long as we're enjoying them, it will make us happy at times. We're not going to be happy all the time. That's something we've learned over the last few months, but we'll be in the right frame of mind to know how to take it forward. And that's what's really important, isn't it? Just touching on that resolution thing, Simon mentioned in his response to the throwback question, he's looking to do. He's already almost posted it, so that's great. That's a great start, and this is what gave me the idea. He's looking to do a 5K a day, walk or run. He's looking to do Veganuary. Can't really say that word, and he's looking to do Dry Jan as well. And he's saying, which one will he fall on first? You don't need to fall on any, Simon. Just go with the determination to do them all. That's not too dissimilar to some of the things I'm doing. Whilst it's not quite the same, it's not too dissimilar. So just the important thing isn't it, is do it one day at a time. Get tomorrow out of the way, and then you go, that's out of the way. You get a week, 2, 3, 4 weeks in, and it becomes habit. And that's what it's about. It's about creating sort of positive habits, things that we can take forward. Before you know it, it becomes easy. You 10, 12, 15 days in. 15 days into January, it was 16 days into January, you've broke the back of it, haven't you? So you're going on. In the last few months, some of the guys have been like running every day, walking every day, completing a mile. And they've done absolutely fantastic. They're doing 25-day challenge. They're sort of running every day in December up until Christmas. It's been absolutely fantastic. People have surprised themselves, and that's absolutely fantastic. I've got people now asking me to give them challenges, which is brilliant, isn't it? Because then they're going to feel accountable. Whilst I'm not going to sort of shout at them or say too much, it's about that person, isn't it? Nobody will be letting me down. They'll just be letting themselves down. And that's how I feel. You know, if I say I'm going to do something, I like to do it. And that's what I'm doing. Do daily, day in, day out. You know, and I'm looking forward to taking it into the new year and sort of talking about all the things I do. You know, I say many times, I'm not comfortable in the fact I'm not comfortable talking about myself. Do you know? And I realised that yesterday. I come off the video and I was really, really worried about how it will come across. You know, because sometimes that happens. I couldn't quite get the message right for the first 2 goes, but it came across well. I think when I do talk about myself, that's where the real honesty and relatability comes out. And if I can sort of pass on some of the ideas and the ways I'm doing things, then that's absolutely fantastic for people to use to be inspired. You know, there's lots of people to be inspired by. There's lots of things to be inspired by. Find what works for you. That's the big message I want to say. Just find what works for you. Going right back to the beginning of this episode, this live feed, I said it's the walking that's really made a difference to me. Whilst it's always been there, you know, it's always been available. I was having this conversation today, you know, sometimes you just need that little bit of direction, that little bit of encouragement to get into those things. You know, I could have sat and dwelled on the fact I can't run, I can't do all. That's what I really enjoy. That's been my thing. But I wanted to be in the best possible position to pick that up again. So we'll get obstacles thrown at us. It's not over yet, as we know, you know, but there is sort of light at the end of the tunnel with the vaccination Dor mentioned, you know. So just keep preparing yourself, planning, putting yourself in a position with some of those resolutions. If you manage to do them, if you manage to do them throughout January, you might just extend them into the rest of the year, and you might enjoy all the things you're doing. Please keep watching. Please keep subscribing. I just got a few thank yous before I go. Thank you to all those who really stick by. I've got some real great support on it. You know, some of the guys in particular share it every day, comment, you know, answer all the questions, and that's definitely what I need. And even if people are just checking in and out, that's absolutely fantastic as well, isn't it? Because I need everybody I can get, to be honest. But I'd just like to say thanks for that. And of course, some of the guys I've been able to interview this year, some of the local inspirations, Mark Crossley, Helen Hood, Mark Dennison for BBC Radio Nottingham. You know, it's been absolutely fantastic doing that. And whilst I've not done one for a while, I'd love to sort of expand on that and try and improve that sort of that feature in terms of bringing people on, you know, letting other people tell you how they do it as well, because it's important to hear different things. And that's all I'm trying to be. It's just a different space, somewhere you can escape for 10 minutes normally. Thursday's always a bit longer, isn't it? But 10, 15 minutes, you know, just to see how somebody else is getting it wrong, getting it right, you know, and doing different things along the way. So thank you to everybody who's supported, got behind it, been interviewed, you know, made comments. It's been absolutely fantastic. I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. Really looking forward to taking it on with some new ideas, using those resolutions to keep me in check, just like with the running this year. You know, hopefully they'll improve me and it'll improve the output as well. So once again, thanks for everything. I'll be back in the morning, New Year's Day, regardless. It doesn't matter. I said I'm going to do this Monday to Friday, just like Christmas Day. Just like tonight, even, I appreciate people taking the time out to watch on a big night like New Year's Eve. But what else would you be doing anyway? So you may as well watch it. No, seriously, I appreciate people watching. But because I made that commitment to do it Monday to Friday, I'm going to be here whether people watch or not. But what it does do is give people who are struggling a little bit as well. And it's crucial to remember that everybody struggles from time to time. Some people struggle particularly at this time of year. Some people struggle at various times of the year. So it's just a safe space to check in. And if I'm needed, probably won't be needed on Christmas Day or New Year's Day, but I'm still going to be here doing the things I do because I absolutely love doing it. And I'd hate to think that if somebody needed that kind of escapism, that kind of safe space to go away to and just hear that somebody else is experiencing something as well, you know, it wasn't there. So that's why I do it. thanks again. Thanks for everything in 2020. Hope you have an amazing year. You know, go and treat yourself to a few drinks. I am. Can't even lift this one. It's a big one. It's a Stein. Only get it out on New Year. So have an amazing night, whatever you're doing. Enjoy the celebrations with your family. You know, have a great start to the year. Crack on with those resolutions. I'll be back in the morning. Wake up to walk if you can check in. Even if you've got a bit of a sore head, it might just be something to mull over for a few minutes. But until then, guys, just doing it.